Daniela here, and welcome to a special Wednesday edition of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. As you know, every Wednesday we drop our beauty bombs on you, which are very quick, bite-sized bits of information on products, ingredients, and treatments relevant to the spa industry. So today's beauty bomb is chemical peels. This is one of my very favorite treatments, something I've done myself for years and something that I love performing on my clients and patients. So chemical peels have been around since hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years, you guys. The Egyptians were doing chemical peels. They were actually putting sour milk on their skin for the lactic acid. So the lactic acid was helping to get rid of and exfoliate the dead layers of skin on the surface. So chemical peels work, it's a chemical exfoliation. So what they do is imagine a brick wall, like bricks and mortar. And if you were to look at your skin cells in a microscope, you would see all of those cells looked just like that brick wall, like all the cells together. So what a chemical peel is doing is when you put the different acids on the skin, it's dissolving the mortar. It's dissolving the glue that holds those skin cells together. Now, why is this important? So if you notice, if you guys have kids or you know kids, you know that they have the most beautiful skin. And they have this really beautiful, glowing, dewy skin because they have a small amount of dead layers of skin on the surface. So anywhere between 5 to 7, something like that, layers. As we age, our skin cycles slow down. And so we end up, when you're in your 30s and 40s, you can have 35 to 50 layers of dead skin on the surface. That's why you hear so much benefit about exfoliation and using retinoids and all of these kind of things. So when we get rid of those dead layers of skin, we are allowing the light to reflect differently on our skin, which gives us that glowy, dewy look. That's why when you hear people when they're aging and they say, my complexion just looks dull, doesn't look bright anymore, part of what they're seeing is the buildup of dead skin on the surface. So when we do chemical peels, we're helping to get rid of those dead layers so new, healthy, vibrant skin can shine through. Now, the reason that chemical peels, often you'll hear, patients or clients be like, well, if my skin is not shedding like a snake, I don't feel like I got any results. I didn't see anything happening. But the reality is, you guys, that what the chemical peel is doing is dissolving the mortar that holds the bricks together, that holds your skin cells together. And the real magic that's happening is in the regeneration of those connections. That is going to strengthen the integrity of the skin. That's going to give that's that dewy, brightening look. That's the benefit that the patient is going to see. So you do not have to shed like a snake to have amazing benefits from chemical peels. So there's lots of studies behind this. We'll link some studies up in the show notes for you guys because I know you love seeing the research. So we'll be sure to put that in there for you. Now, when we're talking about chemical peels, there's a couple of things that I want to touch on. So we're going to talk about depth. We're going to talk about types of acids, and we're going to talk about what I think the most important thing is, and that is pH. So let's start up with depth. So with chemical peels, you have superficial, medium, and deep. And 99% of the time, we're going to be talking about superficial peels. So a superficial peel can go down into the epidermis, but it will not penetrate the dermal epidermal junction or the DEJ. With medium depth peels, it actually can penetrate the DEJ, but it will not go past the papillary dermis. And with deep chemical peels, it will go through the papillary dermis, but it will not go deeper than the reticular dermis. Now, that is something that it's important for us to remember. Deep chemical peels, these are performed by physicians, and honestly, they're really very uncommon these days. We have light and laser devices. We have all kinds of more advanced technology that's really kind of eliminating the need for these really deep chemical peels. What you see so much more often is the actual superficial peels. And so we're doing these in two ways. So we'll either use chemical peels as a prep for another treatment to prepare the skin for a lighter laser treatment, to prepare the skin for a microneedling treatment or post microneedling to get that kind of sandy texture off. Obviously, you have to wait the proper amount of time, but it is common to see a chemical peel used as a prep or post treatment for another treatment. You also will see chemical peels done in series. Now, this is when they really work their best. So with chemical peels, you want to do a series of 4 to 6 treatments received in 3 to 4 week intervals. And you don't want to do more than 2 series per year. So if you are going to be doing a series like this, you want to maybe plan them at multiple times in the year to give yourself, give your clients or give your patients space and incorporate other treatments in, so we're not just constantly exfoliating, which is something that I think we, especially here in the States, we get really obsessed with exfoliation, but there's a lot to be said for putting nutrients back in the skin as well. Okay, so that is the different depths of peels. So again, 99% of the time, and as an esthetician, you're going to be working with superficial peels. When we look at types of acids, the most common we have is AHAs and BHAs. So AHA is alpha hydroxy acids. These are your glycolic, your lactic, your malic. There's a whole slew of alpha hydroxy acids. When you look at BHAs or beta hydroxy acids, this is the most common one we hear about is salicylic. And then you also have your resorcinol, you have phenol. There's all kinds of other acids that are used in chemical peels, retinoic acid. So typically peels are some blend of both of these. You hear also about like Gesner's peels. Gesner's peel is a blend of different acids. So when we're looking at those, a lot of times you will see different strengths. Now, this kind of blends into point 3, which is pH. I've mentioned, I think that this is the most important part of a chemical peel. Yes, you want to have the appropriate acids or acid blends for your client or patient's needs. Now, I'm not going to get into what each acid does, but just know that some are water soluble, some are oil soluble. Certain types of acids, there are acids that work really well to prevent PIH or post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. There's certain acids that don't cause a lot of peeling. There's certain acids that are great for acne. So do your research there. That's a whole nother beauty bomb topic, or even a full podcast episode on acids. But just do your research to find out what types of acids work best for the needs of your clients. But pH has to do a lot with how deep the peel goes. And you'll notice in states where chemical peels are regulated, like California specifically, estheticians are not able to do a chemical peel with a pH, I believe it's lower than 3.5. Don't quote me on that. But you see, it's not a chemical peel that's a 70% glycolic. You can have a 70% glycolic chemical peel that has a very low pH and kind of a middle of the road pH. So make sure that you're paying attention to that and asking those questions as far as to understand the depth and the power of the peel that you're working with. Okay, you guys, so I hope that gets your mind going, gives you some insight on chemical peels, how they work. If you have any questions, I want you to head over to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast group. We can keep the conversation going in there. And I will catch you next week for another beauty bomb. All right, you guys, see you then.